What is up, fam? Daniel here, and welcome back to Whole True Apologetics, where we seek answers to tough questions. Now, we've dealt with a hot topic these last couple weeks. The topic has been on abortion. Now, a couple weeks ago, we looked at what does the Bible say about when life begins and why. I encourage you to go check that video out. And last week, we looked at what does science say about when life begins and why. Well, in conclusion, just a quick summary of what we kind of got from these 2 weeks was that life begins at conception. Life begins in the womb at conception, and therefore should be valued, should be protected, and is worth living. All right, that's what we saw in this first 2 weeks. Now, this week, what we're going to touch on is two common objections to pro-life. Two common objections to pro-life or protection of the fetus, as seeing the fetus as a human life and protecting it. Two common objections. We're just going to break them down. The first one is, what if the mother was raped? What if the mother was raped? It kind of goes along the lines where people say, hey, this is a common objection. I would say probably one of the most common objections. They say if a woman is raped, she shouldn't be forced to carry the child to full term, because then it will remind her of the person who has raped her. Let me start off by stating, rape is a horrible act of violence. Absolutely horrible act of violence, and the offender should be judged severely. This should not be taken lightly in any way. The offender dehumanized the woman and treated her less than human because she has value and dignity in and of herself. This is a horrible crime that's taken place. Now let me just set that there real quick. We've got to understand that. Now let's look more specifically at the objection. What if the woman was raped? Now let's just flesh out a few things here to just give us perspective. Say a woman was raped and then she did decide to carry her child to term, and she did give birth to the child. But then 5 years later, she looks at this child and she no longer wants the child because it reminds her of her offender. Should she then be able to end the life of the child? No, she should not. Why? Why should she not be able to end the child's life at 5 years old? Because the child has value and dignity. The child is a human life. And additionally, the child's done nothing wrong. And the child should not pay for the sins of the father. In Deuteronomy 24, verse 13, this is in the Old Testament, it states this: fathers are not to be put to death for their children, nor children put to death for their fathers. Each should die for their own sins. Meaning, children should not pay for the sins of the father. The child in the womb should not pay the death penalty for the wicked act of violence that's done by the offender. No matter the circumstances in which a child is brought into this world, the child is still alive and should be protected. This horrible circumstance of conception, and it is a horrible circumstance, we can't downplay that, but it does not now justify the killing of the life, the killing of the child. The child is a person in and of themselves. The child is a person that deserves to live. The child is a person that has rights and dignity and value. Just in the case of rape, where it is wrong. Why? Because it's a dehumanizing act of violence towards somebody else. Abortion is a dehumanizing act of violence towards someone else, towards the child. Lastly, the percentage of cases that are actually like this is 1%. All right? So that's just a picture and an answer to this question, this objection. The last objection, or second objection I'll point out, is what if the mother can't afford the child? What if the mother can't afford the child, or it's going to have a hard life, or you can fill in the blank. That's kind of the general concept of that objection. Let me just simply note a few things here. First off, I want to note that even within the objection, it is noting that it is a child. Do you notice that? Even within the objection, it's noting that it's a child. And therefore, if it's a child, it has value. It should be valued. It has life. It should be protected. Because its value and dignity is in and of itself, because God created that child. Additionally, let me ask you this question. Are there poor children today? Of course there's poor children today. All right, that's a separate issue, but I want to note there's poor children today. Does that mean we should go now kill those poor children because they have a hard life? No, not at all. Why? Because each and every person, including the child, no matter if they're poor or rich, has value and dignity. Their level of income or level of life does not play into that value. Someone's life situation, poor or rich, should not factor and does not factor in if someone is a person that should be valued and protected. Additionally, this is a very dangerous road to go down. This is a very dangerous road to go down when we start determining and deeming what we think is an acceptable level of life to be allowed to live. What I mean by that, because then we start dehumanizing people, we start putting people in the boxes of what we think is livable and what we think is not. And this is exactly what Hitler did. This is exactly how people justified slavery when they start saying this is how human life should be and this is not. Therefore, we should end anything that doesn't fit into this box. It's a very dangerous road to go down. Humans have no right to determine if someone has value and dignity. A human has value and dignity because God is the one who's created them, because God is the one who's given them value and dignity, not another human. It doesn't matter their skin color, it doesn't matter their size, it doesn't matter their age. Each and every person has value and dignity and should be protected. In the case of abortion, location doesn't matter, in the womb or out of the womb. Should still be protected because it's still a life. We can't just arbitrarily look into the future of somebody and determine we are all knowing, which we aren't all knowing in any way, we have determined that their life is going to be terrible, therefore we should end it. What if I did that to someone today? I just wanted someone to say they're 20 years old and I'm like, I can know your future's terrible, I should end your life now. Well, you say you can't do that, it's murder. Well, yeah, it is murder. How is that different? It's not. We can't just arbitrarily look into the future of someone and determine what we think is livable, therefore we should end it if it doesn't fit into our category. A human life is a human life that should be valued and protected. The level of life, if they're rich or poor, plays nothing into the value of human life. We should always fight to protect human life, no matter if they're rich or poor or the level of life. That plays nothing into their intrinsic worth and value given by God. Well, hope that helps deal with some common objections and hope to see you guys next week. Hey, if you found this video helpful or challenging, I encourage you like, subscribe, and share this video to anybody and everybody you know.